Hey, what's going on, guys? Comikins here. In this video we're gonna be talking about whether it's a good idea to have a web scraping as a full-time job in 2021. So what I can say from my experience, I can say that from around April 2020 and up to somewhere around May 2021, I've been doing web scraping as a full-time job. So I've been working with another freelancer. So my kind of client wasn't the end client, it was a freelancer just like I am. He's a machine learning expert building complicated data processing models to get some insights from the data basically. And we've been scraping real estate property websites, and for those of you who have been following this channel for quite a bit of time, you probably know that there were quite pretty there was a plenty amount of like web scraping, the real world web scraping projects, like live streams in that regards, where I kickstarted with a blank page and ended up with a full-blown scraper and sending this to my client after and getting paid for that. So definitely web scraping can be a full-time job, and even though that in my despite the fact that in my personal case it actually allowed me to earn more than I did on someone else in my previous experience. But still, I don't really want to encourage you guys to go for this due to the numerous reasons, I would say. So there are really lots of issues arising nowadays in regards to web scraping, and in this video I'd like to highlight some of them and just to give the most essential points in regards to whether it's a good idea to consider web scraping as a full-time job in 2021 or not. So without further ado, let's actually start. So the first thing I want to be talking about. So web scraping is dying, and this is the question, or better to say, is web scraping dying? But I made this sentence more like as this was. Like, I'm claiming this, not asking a question. So here is the deal. Nowadays, data starts being like a currency at some point. So you can't buy ice cream or beer for data at the moment, but I believe that one day this would be the case, because the data is the matter of getting some insights that potentially might rise the incomes of the companies that are considering data-driven decisions significantly. So that's the reason why the data is so important. And because of this sort of effect, it happens that the big companies, like let's say LinkedIn, the world's leader on human resources, right, profiles and things like that, so they do protect their data. And like Amazon, like all these big monsters who people want to scrape the most, are actually protected by a very complicated and sophisticated anti-scraping, protected by the anti-scraping measures. And there are kind of big companies who does this anti-scraping security, and that's their kind of niche. So one of the best known, probably one of the best known names on the market is Digital Networks. So one of the most sophisticated, one of the most powerful anti-scraping system delivery service, I would say. So, like if a single freelancer is about to start fighting to those corporate monsters, you would definitely lose. So, as I've been explaining to my clients many times, that if the site is protected well, if the company is ready to pay big money to protect their data, then a single freelancer is not gonna be able to to have an equal fight with that sort of a thing. So the first is the legality issue. So let's say I had an example like the clients. So I've been redirecting some of my clients to Upwork to hire someone, a freelancer there, because I was too busy. And they returned back to me and said, like, returned back complaining, like, I made a job offer on Upwork saying I need an expert for web scraping, and I got banned. And what the heck is going on here? So you might wonder why he got banned. And that's because Upwork told him a message like, web scraping is illegal, you can't go for this. So you can't offer freelancers doing things that potentially might violate their rights, whatever. So the freelancer can potentially get into trouble if it does web scraping for you. So that's the reason why web scraping is not allowed. So that's the real fact. I've been showing that screenshot from that sort of a talk. One of my early videos, one of the previous videos. I don't remember where it's currently. Might be found at, but I swear this was the case. And for those of you who has been watching that video, you definitely know what I'm talking about, right? So, and that's the case when, like, say if you want to go for web scraping and you want to post a job offer in Upwork, there would be like data extraction, possibly API related scripts to consider and things like that. So it's not really okay to say web scraping nowadays because it might be considered as like illegal thing to do. So that's one thing. So another thing, because of this anti-scraping measures, even though let's say they don't mind that you will try to scrape their website, still this protection will simply not allow you doing this. So why this is happening, right? So it happens because people want to protect the big amounts of their data, because if you just scrape a couple of pages of a not really business sensitive data, like I don't know, like list of smartphones you want to buy. So let's say you want to buy a smartphone, you can scrape a couple of pages from like the smartphones you're about to buy and just to compare them visually as a user. That's fine. If you want to do the same with somewhat a different product like washing machine, maybe a car, maybe even an apartment, that's also okay. But if it comes to scraping millions of pages, literally cloning the database of the target website, it's going to turn out as a complete disaster, because no one actually wants to lose that data, because they did pay to obtain that sort of a data at some point, and now they don't really want to give it away for free. So the main issue nowadays is that if you go for a web scraping as a job in 2021, you can't rely on a long-term projects, because long-term project means that you need to scrape large amount of information daily, and you need to maintain the scrapers, which means that it's not a matter of just scrape the data once and that's it. You need to keep maintaining this, and it's not a big deal. It's very easy to scrape data once, but if you're trying to do this every day, like on daily basis, and you're scraping big amount, like plenty amount of data from the target website, numerous issues starting arising, because sometimes it's okay they not welcome you scraping their website, but they can allow you to scrape just a few pages, and this is okay. But if you're just starting scraping, if you're trying to start to clone their entire database, you're getting banned, and the restrictions are rising all along the way, and you no longer can do the web scraping job. You start going for a hacking job. You're trying to hack through that sort of anti-scraping measures, like security and all this stuff, and that's not okay. So you're no longer a web scraper a web scraping expert. You're just turning into the hacker, and what you do is not even legal, to say at least. So it's not really that great idea. So when you're talking about the full-time job, then definitely web scraping is dying, because nowadays the only reasonable alternative for clients to pay for is just to pay for a paid API. So you can hire a developer that would be composing a script in Python, let's say, to extract absolutely the same data you want, but not using this like hacks like web scraping, like just making this raw bare HTTP request to the target website, but instead just using the API, using this like security connections, things like that. So you just get the data in a nice JSON format in return, without any issues, without any problems. You can then store it to whatever service you want. It's stable, it's reliable. You can run the scripts on the remote Amazon web server, so it's not a big deal. And that's how the world is operating in 2021, at least. Okay, so I really recommend. So I've started recommending this to all my clients previously, that you just don't pay money to freelancers to go for hacking for you. You just better contact the target site you're about to scrape and ask them either for the API. If they don't have an API, just ask them to whitelist the IP of, let's say, Amazon instance that you would be running your web scrapers from. just to get the data, and that's kind of it. So you need to make sure that the website you're about to scrape is aware of the fact that exactly you is going to scrape their website, for what reasons and all this stuff. So you need to deal with the data owner, because otherwise it's the same as stealing. So web scraping is literally stealing. So if you steal just a small amount, this is okay. So this is equal to, if you have a look at that in the browser, so it's not treated to be stealing, right? So if you just have a look at the data in the browser, it's okay. But if you go in for automation, this can already be treated as a stealing, and that's already the legal issue. That might be a legal issue. If not now, if not in this year, maybe in couple of years. But it's where the form that how web scraping is currently works. It's not gonna be the case in the next few years, because again, like, the data starts being like a currency. So that's kind of it. So we've covered if it's okay to have it as a full-time job in 2021. No, it's not okay. However, you still can go for like small projects, like one-time scrapers. If you're about to be writing one-time scrapers, that's just fine. So if you have like a private client, so he's not going to be using this data for machine learning purposes. He doesn't need like 100 like 1 terabyte of data. He just needs, I don't know, probably 10 pages, maybe 100 pages, once, and that's it. Not on a daily basis. He just runs the script once, he gets the data, and then he doesn't need the script anymore. But in this case, how much will you earn on this? 20 bucks, 30, maybe 50 bucks, nothing much, right? So it's really nothing. And if you want to do this as a full-time job, you need, I don't know, 100 of those sort of clients per month at very least, just to pay your bills, basically. So it's not really that easy way to go. Well, for those who want to go for this, please welcome, but that's kind of the case. So the initial application web scraping was actually this kind of thing, like just getting the information in a sorted way for personal use, and that's okay. That's the origins of the web scraping. Okay, so that's the thing. Another alternative. So I need to say that web scraping is, well, it's the quote by Dr. Pai, a very good friend of mine. So Dr. Pai said that web scraping is incredibly good thing to kickstart with. I absolutely agree, and it should be treated as an intermediate step. So let's say you want to become a web developer, okay, but you don't have any experience. So no one will give you a job to do the web development, no matter the back end, front end, or the full stack. No one will gonna be giving this job to you, because they don't trust you. They don't see that you have any experience in coding at all. Let's say you have a blank profile at Upwork. So in this case, going for web scraping related jobs is okay, because the client is not losing anything. So he can just spend $20-$30 just to see if you are okay with this job or not. And like this worked for me back in the day. So I just started with web scraping, but when you do some scripts, usually client want to either to have a web application that goes that does some automation, like running or pausing the scrapers from the web application, so it doesn't need to run this from the command line. So that's one of the options. Another option is to manage the database of the scrape data. So you probably might get asked to create a CRUD app, so create, retrieve, update, delete functionality to provide like the tables, like the jQuery data table plugin, for instance. So you can just be asked for making an app that would be displaying the data that has been scraped. You might be asked to add an option to create new item, delete all item, some sorting algorithms if needed. So just a way to manage the data that has been scraped. So that is something that is the web development related task that you might get involved into when you came into the project as an expert in web scraping. And in that case, if you show yourself well, you can just move from web scraping to web development, and then you will already have the credit of trust. And in that case, it's okay. So the web scraping serves the purpose of just to make this leap from the entry point and up to a more well-paid position in the company you're gonna be working like on the long-term basis with. So that's the case. And the last but not least is what we know as implicit application of web scraping. So let's say if we have a look at search engines like Google, or whatever else, whatever similar, like DuckDuckGo, the one I'm using all of the time. So the idea, so what the search engine is in essence. So in essence, the search engine is the web crawler. So the web crawler is the same as the web scraper, but instead of crawling for the links within the single site and extracting some specific sorted data, structured data, instead in the web crawler, when we kind of like making a web search engine, we just have a list of domains to crawl, and then we just extract like the title of the domain and the description, store this into the database. So that's So that's a very, very simplified explanation of what the search engine is. And again, like in this sort of a case, as far as we do deal with HTTP requests in order to crawl the web, literally it means like making outgoing HTTP requests. Then we need to parse all the links available on the page. Then we need to recursively crawl that links as well. We can set up the recursion depth for that sort of a purpose, so to make sure that we're not going, let's say, deeper than level 4 or something. And then we return back, and then we also need to associate the links with a certain title and with a certain description related to the information being described on this sort of website. So that's how this kind of like chess engine works. Well, obviously in the real world they are way more sophisticated, and some complications arising. Like it's really a completely separate topic. But I just wanted to give you an idea that there are many implicit applications of web scraping like this one. Or another example, let's say you try to make a language learning app, so you need to make use of let's say Google Translate API or whatever another translator. So you make code your own web application that would be making HTTP request to the API of the translator to provide the service to provide the service similar to Google Translate on your own website. So that's another example of the implicit web scraping application. So if you're aware of the basic techniques behind web scraping and how to handle HTTP requests in particular, this may be very useful. So this is kind of it from my side, guys. I hope this information would be useful and hopefully it would be insightful for you guys. So if you're about to consider web scraping as a job in 2021, make sure you know all the pros and cons. This is it from my side. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, and take care.